Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you never imagined betrayal, only to wake up and realize they've become your worst enemy overnight? That's exactly what happened to me, and it all started with my best friend. For years, she was my anchor. We laughed until our stomachs hurt, cried over heartbreaks, and shared secrets that no one else could know. I thought we were unbreakable, like sisters bound by choice. But behind that warmth, there was something darker stirring. Something I didn't notice until it was too late. I never hesitated to tell her about my crush. Why would I? She was my confidant. But the moment I shared my heart, I saw a flicker in her eyes. Envy? Excitement? I couldn't tell. Little did I know, that flicker would ignite a fire that consumed everything I held dear. That night, my world quietly shifted, and I had no idea the storm waiting for me. If you've ever had your trust shattered by someone you loved, stick around. And while you do, hit that subscribe button, because you won't want to miss a second of this story. I met her when we were teenagers, both awkward and unsure, bonding over silly jokes and shared secrets. By college, we were inseparable. People called us the unstoppable duo. If you saw one of us, the other was never far behind. She knew everything about me, my fears, dreams, and insecurities I hid from everyone else, and I knew hers. We promised that no matter what life threw at us, we'd always stand side by side. At the time, I believed her completely, but looking back now, I noticed the small things I ignored. Sometimes her eyes lingered a little too long on my achievements. Occasionally, her smile carried a hint of something I couldn't name. I brushed it off. After all, she was my best friend. Little did I know, those tiny flickers were the first warning signs. Beneath the laughter and shared memories, something dark had begun to grow. A subtle envy that would slowly twist into betrayal, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about trust. And that's when I realized, sometimes the person you love most is the one who can hurt you the deepest. It started so subtly, I almost laughed it off. Little comments disguised as jokes. Cute, though it doesn't really flatter you. Or, oh, someone else did it better, were sprinkled into conversations. At first, I ignored them. After all, teasing was normal between best friends, right? But then came the unease. When I mentioned my crush, she leaned in with a grin I couldn't read, asking far too many questions, laughing at jokes that weren't funny to anyone else. That chill down my spine wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. She began showing up where she knew he'd be, coincidentally passing by into a whisper I couldn't ignore. Something isn't right. Watch closely. And deep down, I feared I was already too late. The best friends we think we know sometimes hide secrets that can change everything. The secret I trusted her with changed everything. One night, lying on my bed, I told her about him, my crush. Not just a fleeting infatuation, but someone who made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. I confided that I wasn't ready to tell him yet, but I wanted her to know first. She hugged me, smiled warmly, and whispered, "Don't worry, I'm always on your side." At the time, it felt comforting, but recalling that smile now twists my stomach. Beneath the warmth, there was something I didn't notice, a flicker of envy, a glimmer of intention. After that night, she asked about him constantly. Every detail, where he went, what he liked, whether he'd be at parties, she wanted to know. I thought it was support, the kind best friends give each other, but in reality, she wasn't cheering me on. She was taking notes. That's the danger of trusting too much. The hands that hold your heart can also sharpen the knife for your back, and I had no idea how soon it would strike. At first, it seemed harmless. She suggested inviting him along when we hung out, or texting late at night to ask if I'd spoken to him. I thought she was just being supportive, maybe even excited for me. But slowly, her involvement started to feel invasive. She showed up where I knew he'd be, claiming coincidence. Her explanations sounded innocent, but the pattern was too frequent to ignore. Then came the perfume, the same scent he had once complimented me on. When I teased her about it, she smirked like it was nothing, but my gut told me it was everything. I began noticing tiny details that unsettled me. How her laughter lingered when he spoke, how her glances always found me. The unease wasn't paranoia anymore, it was intuition. And deep down, I feared I was already too late. She wasn't just interested, she was planning, inch by inch, to take what I loved. Sometimes, the smallest signs are the loudest warnings. The night my world cracked is burned into my memory. It was a small house party, laughter and music filling every corner. I was in the kitchen grabbing drinks when I heard it, a high-pitched giggle I recognized instantly. Curious, I peeked into the living room. My heart froze. There she was, my best friend, sitting too close to him, my crush, her hand lightly brushing his arm. She leaned in, whispering something that made him laugh. I couldn't breathe. For a moment, I hoped it was innocent, but when our eyes met, her smug grin told me the truth. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't harmless. This was deliberate betrayal, hurting me the way I had only feared. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of the storm she had planned. I wish I could say I confronted her right then, called her out and ended it. But I froze. My throat tightened, legs locked, and my chest felt like it had been hollowed out. I couldn't process what I was seeing, my best friend leaning into the boy I trusted her to protect. For days I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe it was just a harmless joke. Maybe she didn't mean anything by it. Clinging to these excuses felt safer than facing the truth, but her smug look haunted me at night, whispering, "She knows exactly what she's doing." I tried to convince myself she was still my friend, but every time I replayed the scene, the pit in my stomach deepened. Denial can shield you for a while, but the truth waits patiently to strike. Soon the lines between reality and manipulation would blur, and I would have to face the chilling question, had I already walked into her trap without even realizing it? Finally, I confronted her, expecting guilt or maybe an apology. Instead, she tilted her head, laughed softly, and said, "Are you serious? You're imagining things." Her words cut deeper than I expected. She painted me as the jealous one, the insecure friend, twisting reality until I questioned my own memory. "You need to get over these fantasies before you ruin your own chances," she said, voice casual but sharp, like a knife hidden in velvet. The more I pressed, the more convincing she became. For a fleeting moment, I wondered if I was wrong, if I had overreacted. But deep down, I knew better. I remembered the smirk, the way her eyes lingered on him, the subtle manipulations. My instincts screamed the truth. This was calculated. That's the cruel brilliance of betrayal. It doesn't just break trust. It makes you doubt your sanity. And soon I would discover that the person I trusted most had been playing me all along. It didn't take long to notice the shift. Friends who once called me first now reached out to her. Group hangouts I organized suddenly left me out. If I showed up, conversations would stop, laughter fading like I'd never been part of the room. At first, I tried to ignore it. Maybe it was coincidence. But then I overheard whispers, friends saying, "She's so dramatic, always imagining things." That's when the truth hit me. She had been manipulating not just him, but everyone around me. Every attempt to defend myself backfired. The more I tried, the more desperate I seemed. She was slowly erasing me from the life I had built. And in the quiet moments, I asked myself, If everyone else believes her, maybe she's right. Maybe I really am the problem. Isolation has a way of blinding you, making you doubt your own instincts. And by the time you realize it, every smile she flashed, it was all deliberate. She wasn't just after him. She wanted everything I had. My friendships, my reputation, my life. It was as if my world had become a blueprint, and she intended to replace me entirely. I started noticing the subtle signs I had ignored before. How she borrowed my clothes, the ones people complimented. How she downplayed my achievements in public while subtly highlighting her own. How she echoed my ideas, claiming them as her brilliance. And then I found the proof I couldn't ignore. A screenshot where she admitted to a friend that she was done playing nice and that soon everyone would see who the real star is. It wasn't about love, it was about control. Once someone decides your life looks better on them, nothing will stop them from taking it. There's a limit to how much betrayal a person can endure. For weeks, I stayed silent, letting her lies spread while convincing myself it would pass. But the more I waited, the bolder she became, flaunting pieces of my life like trophies. The breaking point came when she posted a photo with him, my crush, captioned with a heart emoji. She didn't tag me, didn't need to. The message was clear. He's mine now, and so is everything else. I stared at the screen, hands trembling, heart pounding. Sadness curdled into something sharper. Anger, determination. I realized she wouldn't stop unless I made her. That night, I looked in the mirror and whispered, "Enough." For the first time, I wasn't a victim. I was plotting. I was preparing to reclaim what she had stolen. Not with tears, but with strategy. And in that moment, I knew the next steps would decide everything. My reputation, my friendships, and my peace of mind. Once I decided to fight back, I stopped ignoring the signs and started piecing everything together. What I found made my blood run cold. First, there were the messages. A mutual friend accidentally showed me a group chat I hadn't been included in. There she was, dropping subtle digs. She's so needy, always exaggerates. Don't believe her, poisoning everyone's perception of me. Then came the photos. She began mimicking me. Same hairstyle, same outfits, even captions I had once used. At first it seemed flattering, but comparing them side by side, it was eerie, calculated, like rehearsing to replace me. Finally, the dam broke with a screenshot from someone who still trusted me. She confessed to another friend that she was done playing nice, and soon, everyone would see who the real star is. The pieces fit. This wasn't petty jealousy. This was a meticulously planned takeover. She had been orchestrating her moves for months, and I had walked right into her trap. Almost. Knowing the truth gave me a strength I hadn't felt. Enough for everyone to see. Precise enough to leave no escape. So I waited. I stayed quiet, pretending her games were still working, letting her smirk and bask in her false victory. Every smile I returned hid a plan forming in my mind. Every small interaction became part of a larger strategy. The perfect moment arrived when she invited me to a party, a gathering with nearly all our mutual friends. Normally, I would have avoided it, but this time I said yes. The stage was set, and I had rehearsed what I would say, how I'd reveal the proof, how I'd finally reclaim my voice. That night, I wasn't the scared friend anymore. I was the storm, waiting to strike. And when the time came, everyone would see her for exactly who she was. The party buzzed with music and laughter, but all I could focus on was her. She moved through the crowd effortlessly, the center of attention, laughing as if she owned the night. And there he was, my crush, standing close, awkward but polite, unaware of her calculated games. I stepped in, heart pounding, waiting for the perfect moment. For a brief second, she didn't notice me. Then our eyes met, and her smug smile faltered. She sensed the storm I carried. I waited until enough people's attention drifted toward us, then said, voice steady, "Funny thing, I found out what you've really been up to." The room fell quiet. She laughed nervously, tried to brush it off, but I pulled out the proof. Screenshots, messages, undeniable evidence. Gasps rippled through the crowd, eyes wide with shock. Her confident mask cracked. For the first time, she looked small, exposed. And in that silence, I felt the surge of power that comes from revealing the truth. But I wasn't done yet. The silence after my revelation was deafening. People shifted uneasily, glancing between us, unsure what to believe. But the evidence didn't lie. Screenshots circulated, messages were read aloud, and the truth spread faster than any rumors she'd created. She tried to fight back, laughing nervously, claiming I was exaggerating, calling me dramatic. But her voice wavered, and her usual charm dissolved. No one was buying it. The crowd that once hung on her every word now looked at her with suspicion, even pity. Friends she had manipulated approached me quietly, whispering apologies and expressing relief that I had finally spoken out. Each step she took to defend herself only exposed her further. I watched, a strange mix of triumph and sorrow flooding me. This was the first real blow. Her empire of lies quietly. I didn't need loud accusations or online drama. I just needed the truth to do its work. Screenshots, messages, subtle hints, each piece strategically shared with the people she had hurt, the friends she had twisted against me. I watched as her control slipped. Each lie she had told unraveled slowly, invisibly. She was no longer untouchable. Her web of deception was weakening, and I had the power to guide its collapse. The best part? She didn't see it coming. She thought she was ahead, that her smirk and calculated moves were safe, but every careful step I took tightened the trap she had unknowingly set for herself. Revenge, I realized, is most powerful when it's quiet, deliberate, and inevitable. I didn't act all at once. True revenge is subtle, a storm building quietly before it breaks. I let the truth seep out slowly, planting evidence and letting people discover her lies on their own. Screenshots reached friends she had manipulated. Whispers of her deceit spread naturally, unforced. Suddenly, she wasn't the admired, untouchable friend anymore. She was exposed. People began questioning everything she had ever said. Then came reclaiming the spaces she had stolen. Friends who had drifted toward her returned, now armed with the truth. She tried to regain control, but every step she took only revealed more lies, more manipulation, and finally, him, the boy she chased tirelessly. He didn't need me to intervene. Once he saw her games laid bare, he stepped back on his own. Quietly, he told me, "I don't know what she wanted, but it was never me." Watching her empire crumble, piece by piece, I felt a mix of satisfaction and relief. The trap was complete, and she was powerless. Her world began to collapse quietly, like sand slipping through fingers. Friends who once followed her blindly started avoiding her. Those she had manipulated confronted her, demanding the truth. The girl who once commanded every room now faced silence. Every attempt to defend herself only worsened the situation. Social media posts, cryptic captions, and desperate explanations fell flat. People no longer admired her, they pitied her, whispered about her deception, and turned away. Even the boy she had chased relentlessly refused her attempts to reconnect. The smile she once flaunted as a weapon now faltered under the weight of exposure. It was poetic in a way I didn't expect. Her cunning, her charm, her manipulation, all undone by the very truths she thought I'd never find. She wasn't just defeated, she was powerless, and her own schemes had become her undoing. And the irony? The more she tried to salvage control, the more apparent her guilt became. Her empire of lies had crumbled entirely, leaving her to face the consequences alone. When it was finally over, I expected relief, maybe even triumph, and I had reclaimed it. But victory came with a heavy price. Nights were long and quiet, and I felt the ache of all I had lost: my trust, my innocence, the carefree version of myself who believed friendships were unbreakable. That person was gone. Even as friends returned, the shadows lingered. Doubt and caution clung to me, reminding me that betrayal can strike from the most unexpected places. And part of me still mourned the friend I thought she was, the sister I believed I had for life. I had won, yes, but I also realized something important. Strength isn't in revenge alone. It's in surviving the storm, learning who you are afterward, and standing tall despite the scars. And deep down, I knew the lessons I'd learned would shape every friendship I had from that day forward. The final chapter unfolded quietly but decisively. She had lost everything: friends, respect, and the carefully constructed image she had spent years building. The boy she coveted no longer looked at her, and those she had manipulated avoided her entirely. She was exposed, powerless, and alone. I watched it all with a mix of relief and lingering sadness. Revenge had its satisfaction, but it came at a cost. The trust I once gave freely, the innocence I held in relationships, both were gone. I was stronger now, wiser, and more careful about who I allowed close to me. I learned that betrayal can come from the most unexpected places, and sometimes the people we love most can hurt us the deepest. But I also learned the power of reclaiming your voice, standing for yourself, and ensuring truth prevails. If you've ever been betrayed, remember, rising after the fall is your greatest strength. And if you want more shocking stories of betrayal, suspense, and revenge, hit that subscribe button and stay with me. You won't want to miss what comes next.